You want to know the truth about human nature? Sit down, shut up, and listen. Because no one out there is telling you this straight. Everyone's too busy coddling your ego, feeding you lukewarm nonsense, wrapped in inspirational quotes, and telling you to just be kind, while the world walks all over you. I'm not here for that. I'm not your life coach, your cheerleader, or your emotional support therapist. I'm a scholar with a doctorate from Cambridge, and I've spent the last 20 years peeling back the layers of history, science, and philosophy to get to the truth. And it's about time someone slapped you awake with it. You want to know if humans are naturally selfish? Yes, but not in the way you think. Because the moment I say that, some of you already want to give up. Oh no, it's all hopeless. We're doomed to be greedy animals. Stop. That kind of spineless thinking is exactly what's killing your power as a man. You've outsourced your strength to the comfort of victimhood. The truth is deeper, darker, and more empowering, if you're brave enough to face it. So let's get into it. Point 1. Humans are hardwired to survive, not to be nice. Let's start where it all begins. Evolution. Your ancestors weren't sitting around asking, "How can I be a good person today?" They were scanning the savannah for threats, calculating how to protect their territory, and figuring out who they could trust. And guess what? Altruism was a luxury, one that only emerged when it served a purpose. Look up kin selection. Look up reciprocal altruism. Even when we do something that looks selfless, 9 times out of 10, it's because it comes back to benefit us. You save your brother from drowning. Evolutionary biology says your genes want to preserve themselves. You help a friend. Your brain is playing the long game. He'll help me when I need it. It's not a moral fairy tale. It's strategy. But here's what's important. This doesn't make you evil. It makes you human. The problem isn't that we're wired to be selfish. The problem is that we've created a society that punishes honest strength and rewards fake kindness. Modern men are losing their edge because they've bought into the lie that being nice is the ultimate goal. Wrong. Survival is the goal. Dominance is the goal. Leadership, legacy, and truth, that's the goal. And no, that doesn't mean being a tyrant. It means knowing who you are, what you want, and standing for something stronger than social approval. Point 2. Civilization didn't kill selfishness. It just dressed it up in a suit and called it manners. Let's fast forward to modern society. You wake up, brush your teeth, nod politely to the neighbor, swipe through Instagram, pretend you care about everyone's opinion, and tell yourself you're a good person. What a performance! What you're doing is playing the game of social survival. And it's not your fault. Our entire culture has trained you to do it. From the time you were a child, you were taught, don't be too loud, don't stand out, don't fight back, don't question authority, be nice, be soft, be agreeable. And where did it get you? Sitting in your room, scrolling through videos, trying to remember what it felt like to have a fire in your gut. You've traded your instincts for etiquette, your ambition for likes, your power for approval. This is the part they don't teach in school. Civilization didn't erase our primal instincts. It just buried them under layers of politeness and passive aggression. That guy in your office who smiles at you but undercuts you in meetings, that's selfishness. The girl who flirts with you just to use you as emotional backup while she dates someone else? That's selfishness, wrapped in pretty packaging. You're not rising because you don't recognize the game anymore. You've forgotten that underneath the rules and routines, human nature hasn't changed. We are still the same species that clawed its way out of caves and conquered the planet. Not because we were nice, but because we were sharp. If you want to thrive in this world, you need to stop apologizing for your instincts. Stop suppressing your edge. Stop mistaking weakness for morality. Self-awareness is not softness, it's strength. And understanding your own selfish drives, that's the first weapon in your arsenal. So no, humans aren't evil. We're not monsters, but we are wired for self-preservation. And when you deny that, when you bury it, when you convince yourself you have to be endlessly selfless to be worthy, you lose. You become easy to manipulate, easy to exploit, and easy to forget. Do you want to be forgotten? Do you want to be invisible? Then keep simping for peace. Keep waiting for someone to notice your good heart. Or you wake up. You stop playing the game with your hands tied behind your back. You want power? You better understand the battlefield first. Good. That means you're not one of the weak ones. You're not running to the comments to cry about negativity or whispering to yourself. But what about kindness? Let me be clear. Kindness without boundaries is cowardice in a costume. And in this part, I'm going to rip off that costume and expose what's underneath, because the world doesn't reward good intentions. It rewards clarity, precision, strength. And if you don't have that, you're prey. Not a man, not a leader, just another shadow on the wall, hoping someone comes along to save him. Point 3. Selfishness is not evil. It's intelligent. Let's get this myth out of the way once and for all. Selfishness isn't a flaw. It's a feature. You think Steve Jobs built Apple because he just wanted people to feel happy? He had a vision. He had an obsession. And yes, he had a monumental ego. So what? That ego changed the world. You think Nelson Mandela endured 27 years in prison because he just wanted hugs and harmony? He knew that sacrificing for a cause wasn't selfless. It was strategic. It was about aligning personal conviction with impact. That's not weakness. That's power with purpose. Selfishness becomes a problem when it's blind and reactive, when it's rooted in insecurity, when it's used to dominate without direction. But when selfishness is conscious, it's called self-respect. It's called standards. It's called knowing what you will and won't tolerate in this life. And here's the paradox you're too afraid to face. The people who love the hardest, lead the strongest, and impact the most lives, they are the most selfish of all. They refuse to let mediocrity rule them. They protect their time. They protect their energy. They make choices based on alignment, not approval. So if you're sitting there thinking you have to give up your drive to be a good man, I have news for you. You've been brainwashed. You're not supposed to dim yourself to make others comfortable. You're supposed to lead. And leadership starts by owning your needs and your mission without guilt. Point 4. The myth of the selfless woman has destroyed men's ability to lead. Let's talk about one of the most toxic lies ever sold to humanity, especially to men. The myth of the eternally giving, emotionally available, always nurturing, endlessly understanding woman. You've been fed this idea through every Disney movie, every pop song, every TV show, that your job is to find the one, treat her right, and she'll complete you. You believe that a woman's love is unconditional, that she's supposed to be your healer, your emotional sponge, your reward for being nice. Wake upper. Women are not saints. They are human. And like all humans, they are driven by self-interest. That doesn't make them bad. It makes them real. But the second you project your fantasy onto a real woman, you're setting yourself up to be used, abandoned, or emasculated. You know what women actually respect? Boundaries, purpose, leadership. The man who doesn't need them to be whole. You ever seen Fight Club? You think Marla Singer was drawn to the guy crying in support groups? She was drawn to the chaos, the rawness, the unapologetic truth of a man unraveling the lies he'd been taught. And yet here you are, texting paragraphs, begging for attention, offering emotional labor in exchange for scraps of affection. That's not love, that's bargaining. And it's disgusting. The moment you outsource your emotional stability to a woman, you lose all leverage. Women aren't looking for men who simp their way into their hearts. They're looking for men who walk with such fire in their soul that she either rises with him or watches him from a distance. This isn't about being cold. It's about being centered. You want a powerful relationship, then you better become a powerful man first. Not a man who gives everything away and calls it love. A man who builds himself so solid, love becomes a choice, not a crutch. Point 5. Even your spirituality is selfish, so stop pretending. You think you're above all this because you meditate? Because you read Eckhart Tolle and talk about being present? Get real. You didn't pick up spirituality out of pure enlightenment. You picked it up because life kicked your teeth in and you needed something, anything, to numb the pain. You started chanting and fasting and journaling not because you were becoming a sage, but because your ego was bleeding and you didn't know where else to go. Again, nothing wrong with that, but don't you dare pretend you're selfless just because you burned some sage and posted a quote about letting go. If you were really as awakened as you claim, you wouldn't need to talk about it every day. You'd be living it, quietly, powerfully, without the performative glow. True spirituality is rooted in self-mastery, and self-mastery is the most selfish journey of all, because it requires you to walk alone, to say no to comfort, to cut ties with weak people, to confront every shadow in your mind and own it with savage honesty. You don't do that because you want to be seen. You do it because you refuse to die as a ghost of who you could have been. So stop simping for enlightenment. You want peace? Then earn it. And stop using spirituality as an excuse to avoid conflict, ambition, or action. The universe doesn't reward the quietest voice. It rewards the clearest intention. And you better start getting intentional with how you live, what you tolerate, and who the hell you're becoming. You still want to know whether humans are naturally selfish. We are. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner you can use it. Not to hurt others, but to build a life rooted in truth, not delusion. We're not here to be angels. We're here to be awake. Because most people can't handle the truth that's coming next. They hear a few hard truths and run straight back into the arms of mediocrity, back to their soft habits, soft words, soft lives. But not you. You're still here. That means somewhere in you, the fire hasn't died. Somewhere, under the weakness and confusion and digital noise, the part of you that was born to lead, to dominate your own damn life, is still alive. So let's finish what we started. Point 6. The system depends on you staying weak and selfish in all the wrong ways. You ever wonder why everything in your life feels designed to distract you? Every ad, every app, every bit of content trying to keep you entertained, sedated, docile. Why? Because weak men are predictable. Weak men are profitable. Weak men don't rebel. They consume. And here's the sick part. They've made you selfish, but not the kind of selfish that builds nations. The kind that destroys them. You're selfish in your cravings, your comfort, your addictions. You're selfish in the way you binge on dopamine and call it self-care. You're selfish in how you avoid discomfort, avoid truth, avoid any responsibility that might make you actually grow. Meanwhile, the people who run this system, the ones who know how power works, they're feeding on your laziness. They don't fear your rage. They fear your clarity, your standards, your refusal to kneel to a system that's designed to keep you in digital chains. Look around. You're living in the most distracted, overfed, under-challenged society in human history. And they still have the audacity to tell you you're empowered because you get to choose your coffee flavor and Instagram filter. You want to be powerful? Then stop thinking freedom means doing what you want. Freedom is doing what you must, even when every cell in your body screams to stay in bed. Take back your discipline, your body, your focus. Starve your selfish weakness. Feed your hungry strength. Because once you master that, the system can't touch you. Point 7. Real power comes when you use your selfishness to serve something greater than yourself. Here's the final paradox. You are selfish. You were born that way. And yet, the greatest thing you will ever do in your life will not be for you. It will be for something that transcends you. That's the final evolution. When you stop reacting like a wounded animal and start choosing like a conscious man. When your selfishness becomes your compass, not to feed your ego, but to protect your purpose. Look at history. Every man who ever built something legendary, Marcus Aurelius, Martin Luther King, Miyamoto Musashi, had fierce self-interest, but it was directed, sharpened, disciplined. It was mastered. They didn't give away their energy to please everyone. They didn't shrink themselves to fit into soft ideologies. They built legacies because they aligned their personal fire with a higher cause. Do you even know what yours is? Or are you still drifting, still wasting your thoughts on women who don't respect you, dreams you don't chase, and habits that make you weaker every day? You have the capacity for greatness, but capacity without command is useless. A sword left in its sheath never won a battle. So stop asking if you're too selfish. Start asking if you're selfish enough to protect your time, your values, your body, your mind, selfish enough to say no to the distractions, and yes to the daily war of becoming the man you were meant to be. Let me leave you with this. You were not born to be passive. You were not born to serve other people's stories while your own lies unwritten. You were born with instincts sharpened by millions of years of survival, instincts that modern life has tried to shame, silence, and soften. But they're still in you. They're not evil. They're not something to hide. They are the spark that can either consume you or forge you. You are selfish. Good. Now make it count. Use it to become the man who builds more than he destroys, who leads instead of follows, who loves with strength, not desperation, who stands even when everyone else kneels. Because in a world trying to make you forget what you are, the most radical thing you can do is remember. If that shook you, if something inside you cracked open, don't let it close again. Subscribe to the Hawthorne Mind and stay with me. This channel is not for simps, cowards, or keyboard warriors. It's for the men who are ready to reclaim their power and start living like they actually mean it. We don't chase comfort here. We chase truth. And if that scares you, you're in the right place.